A lot of discussion and I believe some lively discussion along the way, so thank you for coming. My name is Jim Fitzgerald. I'm your town moderator. I've got a couple of announcements to begin the meeting. As this is a continuation of our usual annual town meeting, we're not at the beginning of the meeting as is usual, but we will be doing the pledge in just a minute. We have return of service by the town clerk. Please note the emergency exits. They may not be necessarily the one through which you entered the room. They're up front here and out through the back. Any sound system from up here, it sounds like I'm a little loud. Everybody can hear me okay? No problems? Great, thank you. We have currently, and we expected a fairly good turnout, so we have seating in here for about 1,500 people, so we want to make sure that we're filling all the seats. We do have a bit of an overflow room down at the cafeteria right now. We've had the non-voters sitting in the cafeteria. Assuming that we don't get absolutely killed in here with people, I will take those people from the cafeteria and bring them in. So we only have a couple of non-registered voters, non-registered people down in the cafeteria at present, but we'll leave them there for the moment. Again, I'm Jim Fitzgerald, your moderator. To my left is Town Council and Grayson Pelletier, my assistant moderator. Meg LeMay, the town accountant, is at the end of the table over there. The selectmen are on their way. And in front to my right is the advisory board. At this point in time, I'd like to invite Karen Paulette and Lisa Potts to the microphone to lead us in the pledge. We have a history of having veterans lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I've got a brief history on these two wonderful people who are our veterans agents. Karen Paulette and Lisa Potts of Marshfield's Veterans Services bring close to 30 years of combined experience serving veterans and their families. Karen, a retired Army Master Sergeant, has served the Marshfield community since 2013. Her connection to the military life remains strong through her husband, who currently serves in the Army. She is also a proud parent of a daughter in high school and a stepson graduating college this year. Lisa joined Marshfield Veterans Services in 2021 after a decade serving veterans in Hingham. Military service runs deep in her family, as her father was a World War II vet who served on the shores of Normandy. She and her husband are proud parents of 3 adult sons, 2 who serve as officers in the military, 1 in the Army and 1 in the Navy. While both women are proud of the assistance they have provided to countless veterans and families over the years, they believe the true reward is the relationships they have built along the way. Please rise as you're able, remove your hats, and place your hand over your heart as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lisa and Karen. Okay, looking for a show of hands. How many of you are familiar with open town meeting? How many are newbies? Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoy the evening. It's the best entertainment you can possibly get for costing you absolutely nothing except your tax-paying dollars every year. If you can please shut off your cell phones or at least silence them, that is appreciated. All discussion is had from the microphones, and there are 2 microphones up front there. If anybody ends up in the cafeteria, they're going to talk from here. So all the discussion will happen from here. The discussion always goes through the moderator. So if you have a question, you can ask me and I will ask whomever might be able to give you the best answer to that question. There is no debate directly with presenters or people at the front and having a banter going back and forth. So it's always through the moderator. At the end, I will ask people to raise their hands for a vote, and then I will tell everybody what I see as the results of that vote. If I think that the vote is passed, I will say it's passed. If I think it's failed, it's failed. If somebody questions my ruling, 7 voters that rise can ask for a question of that. It goes to a standing vote, and we count everybody. So I will say that in general, I'm pretty good. I don't miscount very many votes, but it could happen, and there are times when it's good to see people stand up just so we figure out how many people are in the room. So that's kind of a bit of a self-serving thing on my part, but I like to know how many folks are here. I have a list of non-registered people who are on the floor. These are non-registered voters, but they serve in different capacities within town government, and they request to be left with their boards on the floor. So I'm going to read a list of names. Michael Steele from the Conservation Department, Mike DeMeo, Harbor Master, Cindy Marcoux, Library, Meg LeMay, the Town Accountant, Melissa Morrissey, the Treasurer Collector, Sean Leary from MCM TV, Rob Goitis from MCM, Mike McDonough from the Police Department, John Kelleher from MCM, and Shayla Tran from MCM. All those in favor of allowing those folks to stay on the floor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that that passes.
There's 150 people in line outside.
Okay. I was just told there's 150 people in line outside, so we're going to see if we can crowd them in here. And if not, we'll send them down to the cafeteria.
One housekeeping item. What? This changed. Special. First one.
Okay.
That just changed.
Okay.
So that's the motion.
Okay. And the, what?
That's the clean one that I handed you.
Okay. In the back of the warrant, there are a list of the rules of town meeting. I'm not going to read them. I highlight rules 7, 9, 11, and 14. One of the big ones is moving the question. If someone feels that we have had enough discussion on a particular question and that we should move along and call it to a vote, you need to get in front of a microphone and you can move the question. If I agree that there has been enough discussion and I believe that there's no new information to be had, I can accept that motion, in which case we immediately go to a vote on that particular article. If I don't believe there's enough information been passed yet, I will not accept the motion. We will continue with the discussion. I have a vote to accept the rules. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that passes. We're dealing with 7 articles tonight. These were deferred from the annual town meeting due to a lack of enough financial information at the time. It's Article 2 of the special town meeting, which has to do with unpaid bills from last year. It's Article 2 from the annual town meeting with its compensation for elected officials. Article 3, which is the budget. This is the most critical piece of what we've got going on this evening. Article 4 is the capital budget article, and Articles 5, 6, and 7 are the enterprise fund articles. And for those of you who are old town meeting veterans, usually we had the enterprise articles buried within the operating budget. So this is a bit of a change from what we've done in the past. I think it's actually a good change so we can look at them sort of separately from the way we used to do it, but it is a change. We have tellers on the floor, so if we go to a standing count, the following people are tellers on the main floor here. Please rise and wave so we know who you are and what sections you're counting. Section 1, Barbara Carney. Section 2, Anne Marie Sacchetti. Section 3, Cindy Castro. Section 4, Wally Coyle. Section 5, Terry Wenning. Section 6, Andy Wenning. Section 7, Kevin Robinson. Section 8, Lauren Hughes. In the cafeteria, Don Gibson, veteran moderator extraordinaire, is writing herd down there for us. When we go to a vote on any article, I will be reaching out to Don to get his count, and that will be added to the count that we have here in this room for the total count on the vote. So I hope that all makes sense. We're in a little bit of our uncharted waters in a couple of these things, and we're going to try to make this work as smoothly as possible. So at this point in time, I am going to go to Article 2 of the special town meeting. Yes. Front microphone on?
Hello? Jackie Little, 343 Ferry Street. Especially for people who haven't been here before, can you remind me how we vote when there's like more than $1 amount? Do we vote on the top dollar first or the lowest dollar first?
So you're talking about Article 3. So Article 3 is a town meeting budget that has 3 sections. There's a 3A, 3B, and 3C. What we're going to do for that article is we're going to vote first on 3A. That is the baseline budget that we need to go into July 1st with, which is the beginning of the 2027 fiscal year. So that's got a no override budget. It's cut as far as it got down as it can go. That's the first budget that we are going to consider. We're not going to talk about overrides at that point in time. We're just going to talk about that budget. That'll run the way we typically do a budget. We'll go a line item review of the expenses for everybody, and then we'll vote on that particular article. Once that article is done, we'll open up discussion about the overrides. There are 2 overrides. 3B is a $4 million override. 3C is a $7 million override. So those are 2 options. What we are going to do as we have typically done, is we take the higher dollar volume first. We vote on that. If that passes, we're done discussing that article anymore. If the Article 3C fails, we will go to 3B, which is the $4 million override, and we will vote on that. If 3B fails, then we're going to be working with only the 3A. So that's the way that'll play out. And that's typical for us. If we have a couple of financial amendments on the floor, we start with the higher dollar volume first, and we work our way backwards from there. So that's going to be the process. What? Okay. Is she? Do we need to go get her? Okay. Grayson, can you do the run? We're going to go rescue the town clerk from checking people in, so we need her here to be able to record the votes. So who's doing that? Did you tell them about that?
I told these guys they'd try to reach out to me.
Okay. It was just brought to my attention, not that you all know when we are and where we are, but apparently online, if you're watching this at home, it's reading as the date being June 15th of 2025. I am pretty sure it's 2026. So we're trying to change that for the home audience, but just to make note of that. Anybody coming in, we should have a pretty packed house, so please find seats wherever you can. There are more seats up front in the bleachers on this side, and the whole front of section 2 is empty. It's like, I feel like I'm in school and nobody wants to sit in the front row. You said you were helping people check in. So this is Article 2 again of the special town meeting. This is transferring money from last year's budget to pay off unpaid bills. So, and when we're going through this, I'm going to read motions. What I read in the motions may not necessarily be what it says in the warrant. A lot has happened since the warrant was written, and we'll get to here. But the motions are what we're voting on, and the motions are what you'll see up on the screen. And there's a little bit of an amendment to that motion that's up there. So I'm going to read the amended motion. Motion to amend to delete item numbers 8 and 9, funded already by a reserve fund transfer. So it's okay to withdraw those items from this list. So I'm moving to amend Article 2 of the special town meeting to delete items 8 and 9. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare the amendment passes. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll go for a vote. All in favor of the amended language, please raise your hand.
Fitz.
What?
The number is changed to 2.
Yeah, that's going to get down there. All those, there is a change as well for the amount of the article. Instead of being $1,778,000, it's now $1,678,000. That's the result of the amended language. So again, all in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that passes. Aye.
Hi. We have at least 100 people, maybe 200 people still.
Okay.
Do you think we could use the special town meeting article and maybe a different article and then go to number 2? Please.
Number 2 for this particular.
And discuss, because I mean, everybody's here for this article.
Number 3 is what
Yeah.
we got 2 number 2s that I'm going to do before I do number 3. So if we're pacing ourselves, the question is when we look at what we've got, excuse me, we're just talking about,
Logistics.
we're in a fine line of making sure we've got enough room for everybody that wants to be here. That's part of with the overflow down in the cafeteria. I've got enough seats for about 1,850 people. If we get 1,851, we can't have town meeting. So
There's 10 seats up in the front, too.
there's 10 seats right up in the front. So we just want to make sure that everybody's filling in and they're going where they should go. So,
All right. I just want to make sure that we get all of the before we.
well, that's Article 3, so I won't do anything until we get to Article 3. Yeah, it's great that everybody shows up, but we want to make sure that we've got enough room for everybody to do what they're going to do. Again, so in Article 2, we've got amended language. We're deleting Articles 8 and 9, and we've got a new total of $1,678,000. So,
And $60.
Well, that's not what you want. $1,678,060. So we're all in favor of the amendment. I know this is going back and forth, but I keep getting interrupted. All those in favor of the amended language, please raise your hand. All those opposed. So we've got an amended article, and the motion for this article is the Select Board moves that the town vote to transfer the sum of $1,678,060 from the FY 2026 Department Appropriations, previous warrant article appropriations, enterprise fund retained earnings, and certified free cash, and disperse such funds for the following items detailed in the chart set forth under Article 2 of the April 27th, 2026 special town meeting warrant as amended. So I'm going to read all of these individual line items. If somebody has a question, let me know. Otherwise, we'll vote them all at the end. So we'll go back and address the questions if they come up. Item number 1 is the IT budget, free cash. It's munis support expenses for $270,000. Article 2, which is Article 4 of the 422 ATM implementation warrant article. That's free cash, munis support costs for implementation of tax and cash functions, $110,000. DPW snow and ice, free cash. This is funds that were deficit spent this year. We're allowed to deficit spend in snow and ice. We always allow $400,000. If it comes in more than that, we have to refund that money. So that's for $1 million. Assessing expense. Fund, it's assessing expense, IT expense, fund costs associated with the Catalyst software program, $3,500. Legal services expense to select board expense, funds associated with town and labor council services, $50,000. Number 6, IT expense, transfer from free cash, funds and various hardware and software expenses, $44,000. Conservation Commission expenses to select board expenses, from select board expenses, consultation services, $28,850. Fire department salaries from free cash has been deleted. That's one of the ones that we voted to take off the line. And same with number 9. Number 10, free cash expenses from free cash, funds associated with town clerk expenses, $7,200. 11 is election expenses from free cash, funds costs associated with town election expenses, $10,000. Building department expenses from IT expenses, fund costs for open government software expenses, $32,854. 13, veteran services salaries from veteran services expenses, funds wage reclassification expense, $5,600. 14, recreation department salaries from recreation department revolving funds, fund wages in recreation department, $2,900. ATM recurring nonprofit funding from Article 7 of the 422 special town meeting, costs associated with expenditure of warrant article appropriation, $1,000. Number 16, the 1018 special town meeting, Article 9 eco grant match from the Article 7 422 special town meeting UST removal, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant appropriation, $176. 1018 special town meeting, Article 9 roof design from Article 7 422 special town meeting underground tank storage, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant article appropriation, $1,780. 18, the 1020 special town meeting, Article 6 school maintenance, funded from Article 7 422 special town meeting underground tank storage removal, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant article appropriation for $552. 19, 422 special town meeting, Article 7 pickup trucks and sidewalk machine, Article 7 422 special town meeting UST removal, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant article appropriation for $6518. Article 20, 422 special town meeting, Article 7 generator from Article 7 422 special town meeting underground storage tank removal, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant article appropriation. 21, 1022 special town meeting tree cutting, funded by Article 4 422 special town meeting underground tank storage, costs associated with over expenditure of warrant appropriation for $8,000. 22 is 1022, special town meeting, Article 5, ice platform, Article 7, 422, STM underground tank storage is the funding source, costs associated with over expenditure for $18,085. 23, COA state formula grant from free cash, restore grant funds used to pay COA operating expenses, that's $15,000. 24, reserve fund, free cash, increase current reserve fund to address year-end concerns, $50,000, for a total of $1,678,060. Article 2. It says Article 2 here, and this is, we had. So, there was no discussion. All those in favor of Article 2 of the special town meeting warrant, please raise your hand. This is what was, excuse me. Is that the annual or the special? That's the annual. No, I'm just doing the special. This is Article 2 of the special.
Okay.
That's Article 2 of the special,
All right.
right?
I thought we already did.
No, that's what we have to do.
We just did Article
No, we voted on the amended language. We didn't
2.
actually
So
vote
you're
on it.
doing the main motion now?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
See?
What?
No,
No, this is Article
just
2 of the
reading.
special,
the motion as amended.
because it's a budget article. I have to read all of these. Okay. Sorry. A few questions. All those in favor of Article 2 of the special town meeting warrant? All those opposed? I declare that Article 2 of the special town meeting warrant passes. Okay. We are going to adjourn out of the special town meeting and go into the annual town meeting. All those in favor of adjourning the special to go into the annual town meeting, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that we are going into annual town meeting. So our first article in the annual town meeting is Article 2. I want to get the sheet in front of me as well. Annual Town Meeting Article 2. The Select Board moves that the town vote to establish the salaries and compensation of elected town officers for fiscal year 2027, beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending on June 30th, 2027, as set forth in Article 2 of the April 24th, 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant. Need a vote on the warrant. I don't have that. So, as with the other budget items, I'm going to quickly read. I mean, believe me, I don't want to read all this stuff either. I'm going to read through the officers and the. I got to get the right page here. I'm going to read the amounts, and if you got a question on a particular one, you can sing out, and other than that, we'll call for a vote. Compensated for elected officials, Select Board, $3,417. I was giving them a big raise. The chair gets $12.99, and the two members get $10.94. Assessors, $3,687. The chair gets $13.63, and two members get $11.62. Public Works. Public Works is $21.80. The chair gets $816, and the two members get $682. Planning Board, $11.20. The chair gets $320, and the four members get $200. Board of Health, $14.90. The chair gets $588, and the two members get $451. Town Clerk is $83,000. Question on town clerk? Okay. And the moderator gets $300. Hey, it's one of the few perks you get up here. It's the $300. Yep, so, can you get to a mic? I can't hear you.
Are people from the cafeteria supposed to be in here or in the cafeteria?
I can't hear you.
Are people supposed to be in the cafeteria or in here?
There's plenty of seats that they can be sitting here.
They were told to go into the cafeteria.
We're getting pretty full. I mean, didn't have to be, but if somebody wants to sit here, I got a bunch of seats in the front, right up here.
They don't know where the cafeteria is.
Well, this would be easy. The seats are right here. I'm assuming they're left in as well. Are you all voters? Are you voters? Just want to make sure the non-voting people are being set down in the cafeteria. Question on town clerk.
Hi, Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald
I
Road.
can't, can you turn on that back mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we just need to get the mic on.
Yep, Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road. I just had a question only on the salaries, just on one of the pages going through the details of all the departments. Town clerk was the only one that had 2 salaries listed. The 83,000's on there, but there's also on the back page 138, 273.29. Just wondering why there were 2 salary lines. If you could just give some information on that, just curious. Thank you.
I'm going to ask, sure. There's only one salary in this line item. It's $83,000.
I was just referencing in the back, every other department name just has 1 salary listed, but the town clerk has 2. I was just curious. We read through it when we came in. See, it's just the only section that has 2 salary lines?
Well, there are employees in the town clerk's office that get paid in addition to the town clerk only gets paid through elected official salaries. So if you're looking at the expense lines,
Be 2 different lines.
if
Yep.
you're looking at the expense lines under the budget, that would be the salaries of the people who work in the town clerk's office.
So hers is in there as well? Okay. That's probably why.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's why. Thank you.
This is also just establishing the salary,
Yeah.
and it gets appropriated in the budget.
Okay.
All right, Kelly, piece of path. I believe what Ms. McCarthy was looking at is that in regards to the town official salary, Nerese gets paid, I think, $83,000. But I do believe
Correct.
a few years ago, I believe Mike gave Nerese a stipend of $13,000 because of the extra duties that she performs.
Okay.
The answer is this establishes the salary, the budget funds it.
Okay. So this establishes the salary and the budget funds the salary. So this is what her official salary is. So this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 2, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 2 passes. Sorry. I'll get on you. So we are on to Article 3. And Article 3 is the budget. As we get into this is, the budget on a good day is a fairly complicated thing. When you get overrides, it makes it more complicated. For those of you new to town meeting, if somebody's presenting, which we usually try to limit it to 5 minutes, if somebody's speaking from the floor, you get 2 minutes at the microphone to ask your questions and then get a response. When we do the budget presentation, I release that limit a little bit because everybody needs to know what we're talking about. So we're going to have a presentation on the budget from Peter Moran, our acting town administrator. We will have a response then from the advisory board. We will have a response from the Board of Selectmen. And this is on the baseline budget. And what I was reminded of by Mr. Rowland was I neglected to call on the advisory board for the last 2 articles, so I apologize on doing that. Sometimes I get caught up in things. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. So with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the budget in general. And we're going to get the figures from Mr. Moran, the review from the advisory board, comments from the select board. And then we're going to go to school committee is going to be in there so they can make their presentation. So you get the whole idea of all of the elements that are going into the budget. And then we're only going to talk about, for the beginning, we're only going to talk about 3A, which is the baseline budget. We'll go into the overrides after that. So with all that being said, Mr. Moran.
Good evening. This is probably the last time I'll be speaking at a Marshfield town meeting. I want to say that it has been a privilege to serve you as interim town administrator for most of the last 14 months. I want this. Okay. I'm nervous enough, folks. Okay. So as mentioned, there are a few procedural hoops that we have to go through. First, we're going to amend the 3A budget, the first budget, to make sure that we include the South Shore Voc and Norfolk County Aggie School budgets in the total amount. Okay? You'll be asked to take, once that is done, you'll be asked to take a positive vote on Budget A, on Budget 3A. You're asked to do that so that on July 1st, when the new fiscal year starts, the town has a budget in place that is funded by the current levy limit. You will be then asked to consider whether you wish to approve a budget that would expand the levy limit by either $7 million or $4 million. It's important to note that if you take a positive vote on 3A, you are not precluding yourself from taking a positive vote on the subsequent override options. A favorable vote on either version of the budget expanding the levy limit would require scheduling and passage of an override vote at a subsequent full town election. None of these 3 options are perfect. There are valid arguments in support of each of them. I would ask you to consider each option carefully and courteously. Do I have to operate this clicker, or does it? Okay, watch this. See if it works. Here you go. All right, where am I pointing? Call the cable guy. Okay. I'm clicking. Okay. There we go. All right, here we go. Differences in process. What was different about this budget process than prior years? There was a concerted effort to increase department involvement in developing their budget requests and to incorporate their knowledge into the final budget. What's different about this budget than previous budget? We are setting more realistic local receipts estimates. Last year's local receipts included $647,280 in a one-time FEMA payment. This allowed, we're not going to get that this year, so less budget growth than in prior years will ensue, but there'll be more accurate revenue forecasting. We're trying to be more realistic also on our indirect costs. We reduced the amount after talking to Enterprise Fund, particularly DPW, we reduced the amount of indirect charges that we're charging for to other departments. And we included into the utilities budget $300,000 towards what we are going to pay out in indirect costs that we hadn't put in the budget before. We are increasing funding for overlay reserve. The overlay reserve is set aside to fund successful appeals of tax valuations that result in tax abatement payments. In recent years, that fund has been near or in deficit. Having an overlay account in deficit can delay the setting of the tax rate and can impact audit certifications and bond ratings. I know this is going down a rabbit hole, but it is important to fund this at the appropriate level. Oh, good, that was good. All right. Let me see, where else? We are also funding the unemployment line item, which hasn't been funded in previous years. Each proposed budget funds, each A, B, and C funds the unemployment line item, which hadn't been funded for several years, which forced us to pay several $100,000 in back payments that we owed the state at the April town meeting. The proposed budgets incorporate the facilities budget into the operational budget. School resource offices are in the operational budget. Funding payments for the financial software system, the South Shore Voc Tech, Norfolk County Aggie are in the operational budget. In prior years, these expenses were paid from free cash, which should only be used for one-time expenses. As a result, some budgets that you see will appear to have increased significantly, when in fact they have not increased, but are being now paid from the appropriate funding source. The result is a more accurate and transparent budget. So what is driving the situation that we are in now? Cost drivers, what we have is a projected 2.5% in new growth in our levy limit of approximately 3.3%. The Boston area inflation rate is running at, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is running at 3.2%. So revenue growth is barely keeping pace with inflation. Pension assessments that we received this year are up $696,000. That's a 7% increase. Health insurance cost increased as well by $1,055,000, a 12.75% increase. Numerous other factors, including collective bargaining costs, Medicare increases, have also stretched our budget and depleted our funds, including snow and ice. So there are a number of things that have put us in the current position we are in. But we are not, the budgets that we are putting forward correct those past inappropriate funding, and we're doing it the right way now. So that brings us to the options that are going to be set before you. Option 3A is the first budget. This is the baseline budget that I am requesting that you pass this evening so that we can proceed into fiscal year 27 with a budget. This budget uses presently available revenue without an override in order to remain within the limits of of presently available revenue, there will be layoffs, eliminations of positions that are presently unfilled, expense reductions, and reductions in hours worked by staff. Please note that I will not be describing the reductions in the school budget. That will be done in a separate presentation by the schools. On the town side, the layoffs include part-time positions in the town clerk, Board of Health, and Council of Aging. There are eliminations of unfilled full-time positions in planning, police, 1 lieutenant and 1 patrol officer, 5 firefighter positions, 1 engineer, 2 highway positions, 2 DPW positions, 1 cemetery worker, 2 part-time seasonal workers, and 1 part-time position in conservation. There are expenditure reductions in facilities maintenance of $120,000, highway road repair $100,000, legal $75,000, cemetery playground maintenance $75,000, library materials $71,000, veteran services operating budget $35,000, engineering $50,000 for vegetation management and $23,000 for NPDES compliance, council on aging $10,000, and program supplies, animal control $10,000, building $4,000 for outsourced inspectors, planning software $4,000, conservation $23,000, wetlands protection, assessing $37,000 relating to valuation inspectional services contractors, information technology $25,000, totaling $564,000 in reductions in expenditures. Reductions in hours will include 33.5 staff hours in the library each week. The treasurer collector will reduce hours in 1 clerical position by 12.5 hours. Human resources, 2 positions, 9 hours. Zoning, 1 position, reduced 20 hours. Animal control, 1 position, reduced 25 hours. Elections will forego early voting. IT will provide no overtime for night meetings. Harbor master reduced hours, and procurement reduced payment for the consultant and delay the full-time hire. I will note also that the numbers that I'm using for these budgets on these slides are higher than the motions that you are going to do because they include $2.55 million in cherry sheet assessments that aren't in the budget votes, but that are taken out of the aid that we receive from the state right off the top. So they have to be paid, but they're not in the budget motion. Okay. Moving on to option 3B. Option 3B, this proposed budget would add $4 million through an override. The cost to an average single-family homeowner, I want to make sure I get this right, and I want to go back to option 3A. Option 3A increases taxes on the average tax bill by approximately $255. So if you pass that, the average bill will go up from $7,736 to $8,090, or excuse me, from $7,736 by $255. Okay. Option B, with the $5 million or with a $4 million override, the cost to an average single family homeowner with a home worth $805,000, which is the average single-family home value in Marshfield, would increase the homeowner's bill by approximately $354, and that would be tacked on with the $255. Operational overrides are permanent. Unlike debt exclusions, they don't go away when the debts are paid. They stay on the levy, and the Prop 2 levy calculation, Prop 2.5 levy calculation in future years incorporates the new levy capacity going forward. So this is, if you adopt an override, it is permanent. So there will be restoration of positions under option B. Layoffs of part-time positions in town clerk and the Council on Aging will be eliminated. The lieutenant's position in the police department will be restored. One highway vacancy will be restored. Expense reductions in conservation will be reduced. Engineering is reduced to $50,000. Highway, $50,000. Cemetery, trees and grounds, playground maintenance will be restored. There'll be a total of $221,000 in reductions, $343,000 in restorations. Our reductions are restored, except for IT night meetings. Council on Aging may shift some salaries to their revolving fund. Okay. Option 3C provides a budget that adds $7 million to the levy limit through an override. The cost of an average homeowner owning the $805,000 home is approximately $620. So it'll be $620 plus the $255 that will be paid under 3A. There would be no additional restoration of townside layoffs, vacant positions, expense cuts, or hour reductions beyond what is restored in 3B. The primary area of where there will be substantial restorations of positions will be described by the schools. The budget, retaining the budget reductions on the town side will yield 1.4 million additional levy capacity that would be unused. So basically under 5C, $5.6 million would be used to restore budgets, and an additional $1.4 million in levy capacity could be used to address a number of things that aren't addressed in A and B. Things that aren't addressed in A and B are future collective bargaining settlements. It will be noted tonight that the primary expenses of the town of Marshfield are salaries, are positions. You put your money into people. We're talking about numbers, but these numbers reflect people. They reflect people who pay the taxes, and they reflect people that provide the services. There are faces behind these numbers. So the budget capacity could be used for collective bargaining agreements, vacant positions, future vocational technical, future costs relating to the construction of the new South Shore Voc Tech building, legal judgments, or just provide a buffer to inflation. Any decision on this additional levy capacity and how it would be spent will be made at a future town meeting. So you would have a vote on how that is spent. So basically that explains the $7 million. It's 5.6 to fund operations and 1.4 to give some flexibility for additional costs that are not covered in either 3A or 3B, but are reasonably anticipated in the operations of government. In closing, I want to thank the people of Marshfield for their kindness, encouragement, and support during my time here. A day didn't go by that I didn't get a word of encouragement or a letter of support, and I'll never forget it. I want to state how impressed I've been with the volunteers who work on the many committees for the town, particularly the advisory board, Susan Karen, who has been amazing with acquisition of property for community preservation. I want to thank the Select Board for providing me with this opportunity. I want to particularly thank Bob Galvin, Meg LeMay, and Melissa Morrissey in the town finance offices. Bob has been an outstanding assistant as town council. Meg LeMay has done incredible work as the town accountant. We are not dealing with We are not only dealing with the challenges of revenue and how to deal with short revenue. We are also dealing with trying to do things the right way. And what may get lost in tonight's discussion is, because we're going to focus on the money, is that you're starting to do things the way they should be done in a better manner and funding things the way they should be funded. I want to also thank Melissa Morrissey. Melissa and I worked together in Braintree 100 years ago. I managed to help coerce her into coming to Marshfield. She thought it would be a shorter commute. She was working for a AAA community in Watertown, and she joined the fun here. So thank you, Melissa, for your efforts during this time. I want to thank Rebecca Ruffley, our procurement guru, Chiefs Tavares and LaSelva, who are outstanding public servants, Ken Ryan and the DPW commissioners, Andrew Stewart in building, Dr. Sullivan and Tom Miller, who I drive crazy, I admit, Nerese as the town clerk, Fred in facilities, Todd in IT, the planning, conservation, health, assessing, and community preservation staff, the amazing Carol Hamilton, who, like me, is a Braintree native at the Council on Aging. Cindy in the library, who drives me crazy but does a heck of a job. Craig in recreation, and most importantly, thank you to Kate, Jenna, Ashley, Michelle, and Chelsea, who have staffed the Select Board office so ably during my tenure. This evening, you'll make decisions that will present all the people I just listed, and more of them that I should have been. I apologize if I forgot. They'll all be presented with a series of challenges regardless of what decision you make. I can assure you that they will take them on, and with the resources you choose to provide them, they will work every day to move Marshfield forward. They don't get down. This is a hard place to work. Let's be candid. It is a hard place to work. It faces challenges. It has a very lively political environment. But the folks that work in your town hall come to work every day knowing that and show up and do their best. And after you make your decisions tonight, the next day and into July, they'll keep doing it. I want to thank you once again. And if I can answer any questions, I will do my best. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on Superintendent Sullivan at this point to give the school's report on their budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And thank you all for being here and for representing the town of Marshfield during this difficult time. I just want to start by saying we recognize how difficult these decisions are for everyone here and for your families. These are tough times, and we deeply appreciate on behalf of the schools you listening and understanding what these cuts mean to us and to our school families. They really are. In the time I have allotted, I'm going to focus on that because the cuts are really at a point where they cut into the fabric and character of our schools. Oh, this is interesting. There we go. So I want to talk a little bit quickly about what makes Marshfield Public Schools so special. One of the things that makes, can you hear me okay? One of the things that makes Marshfield really special is our neighborhood elementary school model. We have a great deal of passion around our neighborhood elementary schools. We have a true middle school structured around the academic and social development of the child. We started that work with NELMS in about 2008, and it's created a situation where we care for the student in the middle school age and not as someone who's just being pushed into the high school age. We have a comprehensive high school. If you look around you, I would say one of the more beautiful high schools in Massachusetts, or if not anywhere, and it's a comprehensive high school. We offer marine fabrication, we offer DECA, we offer a comprehensive culinary program. We have students who go out and work in construction in our communities. These all help drive students to pursue careers. We have inclusive programming and approach to special education. We don't pay that lip service. We include our special education students in everything we do. We have a strong arts and music programs that I'd put second to none in the Commonwealth, and anybody who's seen a performance knows that's true. And it starts at the elementary level. We have strong athletic programs that people are passionate about that not only drive students athletically, but drives their spirit to be good people and good citizens and very good at what they do in their careers. And we have strong interpersonal relationships, which is all about our teachers. Mr. Moran said that this is an impact on our staffing. We invest in our human resources and in our people, and our teachers are second to none, and they care about your kids. And we have amazing families, and this is a show of it. And I'm proud to be a lifelong resident of Marshfield. Something that you should know is that our school committee did vote per town charter. We stayed in our timeline, as we always do. In January, a level service budget. We offered nothing extra other than our operational and our contractual obligations. The interim town administrator placed an educational budget of $62,359,239 as the education request budget for the warrant. This warrant reflects the school committee approved level service budget less projected negotiating responsibilities. So as Mr. Moran said, the negotiating responsibilities are not included in these override numbers. It is important to consider that Marshfield Public Schools have already made significant cuts over the past 2 years. We've cut 20 FTEs, equating to $1.6 million in budget cuts. We have made these cuts strategically through attrition so that staff have not lost jobs and that we have saved the town unemployment costs. Reductions over the past 2 years have impacted teaching at all levels. And you can see that. Please keep in mind that Marshfield, just as of note, ranks 103rd of 150 comparable Massachusetts districts in per pupil spending, per DESI metrics. Marshfield is lower than almost 70% of comparable districts in per pupil spending. However, Marshfield schools are consistently rated using just our ranking for Marshfield High School alone, in the top 27% of schools in Massachusetts and in the top 15% in the nation, according to U.S. News and World Report. So essentially, we're trying to keep that going. So getting to the particulars. The three budgets that you have in front of you, I want everyone to understand the impact they'll have on your schools. The 3A budget, this is the base budget without an override. We are provided an amount of 67.5% of the total deficit by the town. I believe we're just under 50% of the town budget this year. The cut on 3A for the schools requires $4.524 million. And our negotiating obligations on top of that. That goes over $5 million. It results in a reduction of 80 positions, and that means 60 plus employees. We have about 20 or so retirements, so we won't fill those through attrition, but it's still a staggering 60 plus employees. The 3B base budget with a $4 million override requires $1.783 million in budget reductions and negotiations. That goes over $3 million. That results in the reductions of 40 positions, including 20 employees. And then the base budget was $7 million override, and that will have minimal impact, but some impact on our schools. And I've listed, and there's a lot of information out there for you. There's a QR code you can scan on your presentation that will go into the details of this. But I do want to read these quickly if I have a little time, because I think it's important for people to understand. And you can see the way I've set this, where we've set this, is that it shows you what positions will be cut in an A budget with a check and what positions will be cut in a B budget with a check. And you'll see many are both. The first set are both. 1 health teacher at the elementary, 2 digital learning specialists at the elementary, 1 math coach at the elementary, 1 literacy coach at the elementary, 0.8 library, that's our support professionals, 1.0 administrative assistant elementary, 0.6 instructional technology and 0.4 computer science teacher, 1 position at Furnace Brook, 1.0 health teacher at Furnace Brook, 1.0 assistant principal at Furnace Brook, 1.0 music teachers at Furnace Brook, tutor, 4.0 English teachers at the high school, 3.0 special education teachers at the high school, 8 teachers, 1 from each of the following subjects at the high school: English, math, social studies, business and tech ed, art, world language, and 2 from science. 1.5 physical education teachers at the high school, 1.0 special education tutor 0 at the high school, 0.4 math tutor at the high school, 1 administrative assistant at the high school, a director of online and professional learning system-wide central office position, 1.0 coordinator of digital learning system-wide, 1.0 assistant facilities manager system-wide central office, 0.5 health aide system-wide, 12 permanent substitutes system-wide, Lexia and iReady programming K-8, 14 kindergarten ESPs elementary, 1 math coach elementary, 1 literacy coach elementary, 2.2 music teachers elementary, 1 social worker / adjustment counselor elementary, 1 technical education teacher at the high school. Athletics, we'll have to look at cutting some of our sub-varsity and freshman teams. Late buses system-wide, 5 assistant principals elementary. And you can see it's now changed to the A budget. 6 elementary classroom teachers elementary, 2.2 team chairs elementary, 2 teachers from 8th grade at Furnace Brook. That eliminates the cluster model in 8th grade. 0.4 as we know it. 0.45 school nurses Furnace Brook, 1.0 social worker and adjustment counselor between the middle school and the high school, 1 custodian at the high school, after school tutoring, and we may potentially have to increase our athletic fees. So, in closing, I just want you to understand that this is a watershed moment for Marshfield and Marshfield Public Schools. Please consider the impact it'll have on our children, our grandchildren, and the children who will come long after we're here. And think about the impact it'll have on the entire community. I thank you for your time.
Mr. Falacaro from the Advisory Board. Please.
All right. Good evening, Vin Falacaro, Advisory Board. So this is obviously, given the attendance here, this is a super important vote for the town. And what we didn't want to display was that the Advisory Board just mailed it in. So how do you convince 1,000 or so people that you didn't mail in your decision? You draw up a PowerPoint. So that's what I did. Okay, quick review. The Advisory Board is required by the town charter. And I won't read you the slide, but we're required by the town charter. And who do we report to? We don't report to the select board. We don't report to the moderator, town council, or the town administrator. We report to you. So I'm here representing these good people who worked hard on trying to figure out which one to recommend out of the 3 choices. So what the Advisory Board is not, is we are not a Big 8 accounting firm. We're not the people who sign corporate reports to tell you that the finances were done correctly. We're just not that. We're a bunch of volunteers who had time and the desire to help. I'm going to skip that slide. Mr. Moran went over it. I have my own take on it, but it's essentially the same thing. If you're interested, come see me, give me your email address, I'll send you my presentation. So how to tackle this? We had these 3 budgets to look at, and we had to keep some overriding principles in mind. We had to develop a methodology that first determined, do we need an override? And if then we decided we did need an override, how much should that be? And at the same time, keeping in mind that at the end of the day, real people are going to have to pay more money if we shot too far, and we would hurt the government, which is also a responsibility of the people here, if we shot too low. So we tried to be as accurate as we could with frankly, very little information. But that was our overarching plan. So here's what we came up with. We came up with a process, as most people do when they have to tackle a problem. We said, let's take the no override budget. We call it 3 alpha because I have to use phonetic alphabet. It's a habit from where I worked previously. The 3 alpha budget is the no override budget, and it represented the baseline for what we have to, what was a balanced budget with no override. And what we wanted to do from there was go and talk to the departments in town. So we wanted to get a personal relationship going with all of the people who run our town, the experts, and find out how they feel about it and what could be added to the budget if they felt really poorly about what they were given. So the first thing we wanted to do was find out, can you meet the 3A budget, the 3 alpha budget? And if you could, but you still had trouble sleeping at night, knowing that things you would have to give up based on the 3 alpha budget were going to be really deep cuts, how much money would you need to restore those particular things? And we made a list. We drew up a spreadsheet, and we put those numbers that people gave us on a spreadsheet. We summed them up, and when at the end of the day, we came up with a number that represented what we think the town needs, based on the experts. So here's the results. Every one of the department leaders said that they, even though the 3 alpha budget was deep, they could meet it. I think I'm behind a slide here. No, I'm not. All right. They said that they could meet all regulatory requirements. Our septic treatment system down at the end of the 139 requires a discharge permit, just as an example. And that is going to be fully funded, all that it takes to sample and report on that. We were worried about that because we heard some rumors saying we won't be able to be doing all the sampling that we're required to do. No, DPW said we can do that. We will meet that. We'll find the money. We'll do that. All the department leaders were very frugal with what they were asking for when we did convince them that they could ask for more money. We have no money to give them, but we said, if we did, how much would you need? And there was some really, a couple of times we got, if I could get another $5,000, I think I could do X or Y. And we thought that was pretty interesting. And, really very, we didn't get people trying to move the needle too far. So I think we came up with what was reasonable. The difficult one was the schools, because the presentation that Dr. Sullivan just went over was just very large and included a lot of stuff that we're not expert at. But when we looked at that, we said, there are some things, everyone's going to have to share in some pain here. And unfortunately, I think most of the departments are experiencing pain. The schools are probably going to be in that boat too, was our judgment. But we saw some of those cuts, and Dr. Sullivan just went through, and what a great advocate he is for the education of the Marshfield children. Some of those cuts were just unacceptable to the majority of the advisory board. So as the last bullet says, we had a very strong recommendation for the 3 Bravo budget, 3B, the $4 million override. Our numbers came up a little shy of that. We didn't get to talk to all of the departments, but the ones we did, we probably talked to 90%. And when we summed up everything and we threw in what we thought was necessary to stay away from the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cuts with the schools, we came up with about the $4 million that someone put together as a swag in December, which we thought was pretty reasonable. So that's where we ended up. And like I said, we report to you. That's how we got to where we got. And I'll turn it back over to the moderator now. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be right here waiting. Thanks.
As I said, these reports take a little more time than we normally would allow, but I think it really gives everybody a sense of where the process started and where the process went, and a feel for how the numbers were created, which was very carefully. I do want to thank specifically Mr. Moran for all the effort that he put in. He's off to Italy very shortly on a well-earned vacation. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Moran, for all the work that you've done. So we're going to go to comments to the Select Board, and then we'll get into Article 3A. Mr. Smith, anything? Okay. Mr. Kelly? Okay. So, again, we're only going to be talking about the 3A budget. We're not going to be talking about any override budgets. I've got a motion. The amount that is on the motion is not what you're seeing in your warrant. As I said, the motions are what we're voting on. This is slightly different from what you saw in the warrant. I need to first do a motion to amend the total that you see in the warrant to change the total appropriation under Article 3A to $121,439,858 to reflect the school costs for South Shore VOTEC and the Norfolk Agricultural and additional school expense. So that's my motion to amend Article 3A. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Any discussion? Okay, then I will declare that that motion or the amendment carries. So now we have an amended article. So I'm going to read the article, and then we'll get into discussion. I'm going to go line by line item down the budget. I'm not going to get into the specifics on the numbers because things don't quite match. They're going to be close to what's in your warrant article. If there's a budget that you question, whether it's an expense budget or a salary budget, sing out as we go through that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about those ones you questioned, and then we'll vote on the entire budget. Article 3A. The Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,121,439,858. $121,439,858 to defray the charges, expenses, and salary obligations of the town, including without limitation debt and interest, wages, salary reserve funds, and expenses for the operations of the town's departments and offices as set forth in Article 3 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant on pages 20 through 23 for fiscal year 2027, beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending on June 30th, 2027. Under the column Select Board Town Administrator A budget as amended, and to meet said appropriation, raise and appropriate the sum of $118,915,383.91 from the FY27 tax levy, and transfer the sum of $735,179.54 from water enterprise funds, the sum of $519,472.06 from wastewater enterprise fund, the sum of $350,787.49 from solid waste enterprise fund, the sum of $15,000 from community impact fees, the sum of $15,000 from waterways improvement fund, the sum of $30,000 from the wetland protection fund, the sum of $9,000 from licensing and keeping of dogs, the sum of $174,013 from the recreation revolving fund, the sum of $60,000 from the cemetery perpetual care, the sum of $616,022 from the solar revolving fund, for the total of $121,439,850 for the general fund. And this is going to be a majority vote. So at this point in time, I'm going to read down the list. And again, my list may vary from yours because the totals are different. So I'm just going to read the name of the department, and it's going to be salaries and expenses. If you've got a question, just let me know. Moderator, selectmen, salaries and expenses. Finance committee, expense. Reserve fund, expense. Accountant, salaries and expense. Procurement, purchasing, salaries and expense. Assessor, salaries and expense. Treasurer collector, salaries and expense. Legal expense. Human resources, salaries and expense. Information technology, salaries and expense. Town clerk, salaries and expense. Elections, salaries and expense. Conservation, salaries and expense. Planning board, salaries and expense. Zoning Board of Appeals, salaries and expense. Facilities management, salaries and expense. Utilities, expense. Police department, salaries and expense. Question on police, on salaries or expense? Pardon me? Expenses, okay, thank you. Fire rescue, salaries and expense. Building department, salaries and expense. Weights and measures, expense. Animal control, salaries and expense. Clam flats, salaries and expense. Harbor master, salaries and expense. Regional schools, expense. Administration, salaries and expense. Engineering, salaries and expense. Highway department, salaries and expense. Snow and ice, salaries and expense. Automotive fuel, expense. Maintenance of equipment, salaries and expense. Cemeteries, trees, and greens, salaries and expense. Board of Health, salaries and expense. Council on Aging, salaries and expense. Veteran Services, salaries and expense. Veterans Benefits, expense. Library Department, salaries and expense. Recreation Department, salaries. Trustees of Veterans Memorials, expense. Historical Commission, expense. Non-exempt debt limit, expense. Exempt debt limit, expense. Other debt services, expense. General insurance, expense. Retirement expense. Employee benefit expense. Unemployment compensation expense. Medicare expense. So the only question we have is on police expenses. Whoever asks the question, please get to a microphone. Going once, going twice. There she is. There you are.
Martine Anderson, 5 Weathervane Lane. My question is basically, it applies to the budgets A, B, and C, and it has to do with gasoline prices. So when the people here in this hall are considering which budget, I went to the gas station a while ago and I paid $45 to fill up my tank. And I went last week and it was $65. That's a 40% increase. So all of these expenses for fire, police, DPW, the schools, in terms of the buses, the bus contracts must cost more. They'd have to go up just because they have so much gas that they have to put in the buses. I think it would affect every department that has a vehicle on the road. So when we're considering our budgets, A, B, or C.
We're only considering A right now.
Okay, this is A, but consider what it means if you can't fill up your vehicles to get on the road. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
C.
Moderator?
Pardon me? There was a
Mr.
vote.
Moderator?
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, this is Don Gibson talking to you from the cafeteria, which is at capacity. And
Don's
I
been
might say-
exiled.
What?
I said Don has been exiled.
That's right. But we're having a grand time, and in honor of our international visitors for the World Cup, we're all singing Scotland the Brave. But we need, I have been approached by several people asking for a further explanation from you before we go to a vote of what the effect is of voting for Budget A and how that then affects the votes that will be taken on Budgets 3C and 3B if necessary. I know you have explained
Sure.
it once already to the people there, but I've had people coming in, and as I say, we're at capacity, and we would greatly appreciate another explanation from you if you're so inclined.
I am so inclined. So we are voting for 3A at this point. This is the baseline budget. When we go to looking at the overrides, they will augment A, but we need to start somewhere. We need a budget that will take us in to, on July 1st, 2027, we can actually pay our bills. And that's what the A budget does. It's a bare bones budget. It's got no overrides. It is only to get us through at a base level. We can live with this, as Mr. Falacara said from his research with the advisory board. He's talked to all the department heads, or the advisory board has talked to all the department heads, and they can live with an A budget, not well, and in some cases not well at all. But it's a survivable budget if we had to do it. So that was the difference. We need to create the A budget, and then we will talk about the override budgets. Does that satisfy your question, Mr. Gibson?
Yes, thank you very much. I think there's still a little bit of confusion, but I think they all understand that the 3A budget is the base budget with no override. So if you pass the 3A budget, everyone that's sitting here, that's our base budget as of July 1. And at that point then, if I'm correct, Mr. Moderator, we would then consider budget 3C, correct?
Correct.
And if 3C passes, then that's the end of the budget discussions. We will not go to budget 3B. If 3C fails, that override fails, then we would go to budget 3B. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go Scotland.
All right, so we have satisfied the discussion on Article 3A. It's a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 3A, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that 3A passes with a majority. Don, what's your vote in the cafeteria?
I was going to say it passes by an overwhelming majority in the cafeteria as well.
Thank you. Well done. Okay, so, yes?
Hi, I'm Megan Weymouth on Oak Street. So I just want to clarify, because I had not heard before, and I've got neighbors texting me who couldn't come. If we pass 3C, the override for $7 million, no, but
Okay.
this matters for voting. Did you say in this meeting tonight that we as a town get to vote on how that money is spent and not the committee?
It's not, it's outlined within there. It's restoring services that were cut with the 3A budget from a level services budget.
So you said that there would be another vote, though.
There is going to be, before you get too far in advance, because I'm not talking about this just yet,
Okay.
there's going to be a vote on an override budget in general. So when that override budget goes through, whether it's 3C or 3B, if we vote on 3, we are going to be voting 3C first because it's the highest dollar volume. If that passes, that's what we're voting. That's been passed. That's the only override. If the 3C budget fails, we will then vote on 3B. If 3B passes, then that's going to be the override. If 3B fails, then we're going to be left with 3A. So we have a budget, but it's not going to be an amended budget. What happens with those funds that go from the override money that goes in gets spread amongst the departments to restore their level service budgets. That's what it's doing.
Okay.
What?
So it was said, then we would vote on
Well,
the
I'm
election.
going to have Mr. Moran get up.
I apologize if I wasn't clear enough on this before. So the 3C budget would pass $7 million. $5.6 million of that will restore budgets to level services. There will be an additional $1.4 million that will be available but not distributed to budgets. It will be available to town meeting, at future town meetings, to distribute to budgets for collective bargaining or for various future purposes as they see fit. So the 5.6 gets schools closer to level services than they would be otherwise, gets town departments up to the B level, the 3B level with $4 million restorations. The $1.4 million in extra money is created by retaining some reductions in spending on the town side primarily. So that 1.4 isn't distributed to departments until town meeting acts on it, but the 5.6 of that 7 goes to restore budgets.
So what did you say that the vote by the town is going to go towards in regards to that?
The ballot.
Just the override?
Yeah, the override has to pass first, and then that one, because right now that $1.4 million and $7 million don't exist. The override gets scheduled, gets voted on, it gets passed, then you have access to the money.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still setting up, I'm still getting the whole discussion going, so we're not discussing the overrides just yet. So just
Point of order.
point of order.
Mr. Moderator, Michael Wolf, Union Street. Is the vote that's taken tonight, if either Bravo or Charlie is voted affirmatively, is that a dispositive vote sufficient to settle the question, or do we need
No.
a follow-on town election as well?
What will happen if either of those two override votes, 3C or 3B, passes, then at that point in time, it's going to go to a ballot question that needs to be set by the selectmen.
And will that election happen, or it happens only if the select board votes and approves it taking place?
A majority of the select board needs to approve that ballot question to go to the voters.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That is a big deal.
Okay, thank you. So, again,
Point of order.
what's your point of order?
I appreciate the fact that you attempt to get through town meeting quickly, but I have a couple of questions, which are expenses on many of these items. They're very vague. I have no idea what the expenses are. They should be broken down and presented to everybody. What are these expenses?
Okay.
Also, the screen that I'm looking at is blurry, and there are colors that come up. You cannot see the school presentation. You couldn't read it.
There were expenses in your warrant, but they don't match what the actual dollar volumes were since the warrant was printed. There have been changes to the budgets, slight budgets. If you'll notice, the budget went up a couple of $1 million for the A budget. So I don't have a direct correlation between the numbers you're seeing in your warrant and the numbers that we have right now. If you've got other questions with that, I'm sure that Town Hall can get you an updated list of what the expenses
Another
are.
question regarding expenses is overtime expenses in all departments, especially when people are working all night and all day and
Okay.
not getting very much done, except sitting in their cars.
Excuse me, we already voted on and approved option A, so there's nothing to be discussed right now as far as I understand what you're saying.
I protest because I think that you went too quickly through everything, and we could not ask questions about expenses all over the place.
All right, I
and
disagree.
We could not understand what you were saying, what other people were saying, because their presentations were not clear. Although their speech was clear, what was presented on the screen wasn't clear.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that's it.
Okay. Unless you've got a point of order,
Yes.
we're not discussing anything yet.
Point of order, yes.
Yeah.
I have a question I want to ask. Are we going to be able to ask questions regarding 3A, 3B, 3C as they come up? Because it didn't seem like we had an opportunity.
Well, at 3A, I read every department and asked if there was a question and said, sing out if you've got a question on expenses or salaries. And
My
we had
question-
one question, which was on the expenses for the police department.
Well, my questions were of a general nature. Mr. Moran pointed out that, how the base budget was a 2.5% increase plus new growth. The question I had is, what determines new growth?
Mr. Moore?
New growth is new tax revenue. It's primarily major rehabilitation or new construction or new meals tax, new revenue that, but primarily it's new construction, building permits related to new construction or substantial remodeling or rehabilitation. That's primarily where new growth comes from. It's projected, we projected about 0.8% in new growth.
And at what percent is new growth assessed at?
It's assessed at, depends on the category that it's in. If it's residential, it's at 961. If there, I don't know off the top of my head what the commercial assessment is.
The reason why I ask those questions is because 2.5% plus new growth, the Madison, which was sold 3 years ago at a price of $130 million, is assessed for $74 million. That's a $56 million shortfall, in my opinion, of new growth. And at $10 per thousand, there's $560,000 left on the table that the town could be looking at to lower some of these costs. I'm wondering why we're not doing that. Every year my house gets assessed a different value, pretty close to what it would sell for. Why aren't some of these new properties, a $56 million difference between a selling price versus an assessment price, leaving $500,000 on the table? That's a lot of money. I don't understand why that's happening.
Yeah. I'd have to refer it to the Board of Assessors on that.
Okay. The last question I had with regard to the schools, do any of these budgets at the schools include new positions, and if so, what are the costs?
Mr. Sullivan? It's a very long walk. No, there are no new positions included. Our budget we presented, Mr. Dupuy, was level service, and that included nothing from what we call our financial plan, which is projections of what we might need to improve the schools. It was level operational service, did include our contractual obligations, but not our negotiating obligations.
Okay. Thank you.
In the end.
Those are questions I think people have the right to be able to ask and find out.
Good questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, how many people here do not know how they're going to vote this evening on the overrides? Pretty much what I thought. So we're going to set up a few things here. I'm not going to, there's no need for a lot of discussion if everybody already knows what they're doing. I'm not going to not have some discussion. Wow, that was great. I was telling my colleagues, one of my maxims of political life is never miss a good chance to shut up. So I'm more than willing to do that. I do have a statement that I want Attorney Galvin to read. There's been some question about the legality of 3C, and Attorney Galvin's got the definitive answer on that as far as I'm concerned.
Good evening, everybody. Robert Galvin, Town Council, 26 Aunt Lizzie's Lane, Marshfield. The warrant opened and closed for the annual town meeting in January of 2026. A placeholder was left for an annual warrant article since the budget was not yet finalized. As everybody knows, the budget work continued until late March when it appeared to be included in the final warrant a base budget and an override budget, the 3B budget, for a supplemental contingent $4 million. Before the budget article was finalized in late March, there was a joint advisory select board meeting to discuss the budget options, the proposed town warrant, and the override questions. After a lengthy discussion, including a detailed explanation by former interim town administrator Charles Sumner about budget options, the select board voted 3-0 to direct Mr. Sumner to include a so-called 3C option for a $7 million override, and he did so. When the warrant was finalized, the annual budget article included the base budget 3A and 2 optional supplemental votes for $4 million and $7 million, contingent on an override vote. The warrant was then published, added to the website, posted as required by the charter and state law prior to town meeting with the base budget and the 2 override options. It is my opinion as town council that the motion offered under Article 3, known as the 3C motion, is therefore legal and may be considered by this town meeting. The advisory board began its work reviewing the budget thereafter and held a prior public hearing in March and another one last week on June 10, 2026. In conclusion, the budget was late. The budget did not get finalized until late March, but town meeting may lawfully consider the base budget in either or both of the override options. It did not need to formally vote to open the warrant to amend the draft budget article because the article was in the process of being finalized. I would add that my opinion is further based on the fact that allowing an amendment to the 3B budget to add another $3 million to the proposed override would have also been a permissible alternate way of handling this matter, and this supports my opinion that town moderators have allowed amendments up to an additional 10% on financial articles as within the scope of an article and any amounts down. We also filed town meeting time, which states that the basic rule of a warrant is to apprise the voters of the subject matter to be considered at town meeting. All that is required is to include a sufficient description of the subject matter to provide the voters with substantial, intelligent notice of the nature of the business to be acted upon. The article need not contain the details or an accurate forecast of the precise action which the town meeting will take. Matters incidental and connected to the article are proper for consideration and action, and the article should be interpreted in a liberal manner and not with strictness or rigidity.
Okay. Advisory Board, any further comments? Okay. Select Board. I think Rick's already up on you.
You want to come after?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, residents of Marshfield, for being here for this very important discussion and vote on our town's future. I'll just make a quick comment. I am standing up here to represent not just the views of just one select board member, but myself as an individual. The select board did move to take a vote as to whether or not to recommend 3C earlier. That motion was not seconded, so there was no vote by the select board. As you've just heard, tonight we have a choice to make on our annual budget. There are 3 choices, and each choice comes with a set of trade-offs. Everyone here is going to have to make their own decision, and I'd remind us all that we must respect the opinions of everyone here among us. I stand before you tonight not just as a member of the Select Board, but as a neighbor. And I know that asking for a tax increase is never an easy choice, but the harsh reality is that the mathematical limits of Proposition 2.5 simply cannot sustain the level of services our community currently relies on. In fact, it hasn't been able to keep up for several years, but instead of addressing the situation head on, we found ways to avoid this inconvenient issue. And so tonight, our town faces a choice. If we choose to do nothing, things will not simply stay the same. We are not looking at minor belt tightening. We're looking at devastating and drastic cuts that impact all departments and especially our schools. Without an override that corrects our structural imbalances, we risk laying off dedicated teachers, increasing our class sizes, stripping away vital educational programs. Our schools rank in the top 15% in the country, and yet our spending per pupil in our town is amongst the lowest in our entire state. We do a really great job at doing a lot with a little. Option 3C doesn't throw money at schools or at any town services. It keeps our services at close to the same level that they are at today, and also provides a small amount of additional levy capacity to ensure that we have the flexibility to take care of our town's employees while they're enduring very high increases in insurance rates. It also helps us potentially absorb some of the future expense from the South Shore Tech, so that we are not back here again a year from now having the same exact debate. I know many of you are concerned about your personal budgets, and I don't want to see us facing this situation again. And that is why, as chair of the Select Board, I want to make a critical commitment to you. I'm officially pledging that I will vote and I will do all in my power to ensure that if option 3C is selected, that it will be a one-time structural correction. And to back up this promise, I'm going to do three things. First, I'm going to work together with the board of the Department of Public Works, as well as the school committee, to set up a no more overrides memorandum of understanding that will outline a budgeting process that prevents further operational overrides for at least the next 7 years, with only exceptions for emergencies. Second, I will direct, upon receiving support from a majority of the Select Board, to conduct a comprehensive performance audit of all of our town's operations. We will actively restructure our departments and maximize every single dollar to ensure that future override requests are unnecessary. We will hold the line on spending. And third, I'll be proposing the formation of an Economic Development Advisory Committee to assist the Select Board in building a stronger tax base that takes the pressure off of our residential property tax base. But right now, before any of that is done, we have to stabilize the foundation. Excellent schools and reliable emergency services are exactly what attracts families to Marshfield, and it protects our home values. Failing to invest in our town tonight will cost us much, much more down the road. Option 3C is an investment in our collective future. It ensures that Marshfield remains a desirable and a safe and a vibrant place to live, backed by a transparent and accountable fiscal plan. I urge you to support option 3C. Let's fix this problem, let's protect our schools, and let's protect the community that we call home. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
Eric Kelly, Pearson Path. Mr. Moderator, I just want to let the public know that I disagree with Mr. Town Council's assessment in regards to 3C. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to read the motion for Article 7C, and then we can go to discussion from the floor again. Everybody knows how they're voting. We'll go for a limited amount of discussion. I'm just going to go for, I'm not going to jump right into a vote, but we'll get into it. Article 3C, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $7 million to supplement the annual town budget adopted under Article 3A of this April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant for the purposes and in the amount specified in the chart set forth in Article 3A of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant on pages 20 through 23 for the fiscal year 2027 beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending on July 30th, 2027, as amended, and further detailed under a handout for Article 3C, contingent upon passage of a Proposition 2.5 ballot question under the General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C/G. So, discussion from the floor. Didn't have to sit down. You could have stayed up there.
I didn't know if we were going to vote first, so I wanted my vote to count. Jackie Mason, 1415 Ocean Street. Can you explain who will be in charge of this budget, since we have no town administrator? How is that written out in our charter? How can residents hold this town accountable? Who will be held accountable? And how will that be communicated?
I didn't follow all your questions, other than there is no town administrator at this point, and that's something that needs to get resolved. So what were the rest of your questions?
We have a huge problem with accountability, communication, transparency. That's why we're here right now facing an override. So how, without a town administrator written in our charter who is responsible for overseeing that budget, who is going to do that now? And can the residents hold accountable for that?
The Select Board.
The Select Board? Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, Mr. Gibson.
We have, through modern science and a little bit of engineering, the ability to speak directly to you, as you can see. I have a voter here that has a question. Is it necessary that she go all the way into the gymnasium? I mean, I can put her on this microphone and she can identify herself, if that's suitable.
I can do that. I will call you when her time is up, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 people in a row right now, so she can be person 14. Front microphone.
Peg Davis, 87 New Street, Marshfield. I have a question for Police and Fire Chief, if they're available. It seems that our call volume, emergency call volume, has increased from 2005 of 4,647 calls to 2025, 17,487 calls, 3 times the number that it was in 2005. Our staff has gone only from 45 to 47. That's 2 additional people handling an additional 10,000 calls. So I'm wondering what staffing levels would be appropriate based on how the call volume has increased to maintain appropriate response times for police and fire, and whether the override will help that.
Any help?
Phil Tavares, Police Chief. The override will not give us any additional personnel, so we're going to continue to do the best that we can do. The administrative staff is helping out the patrol officers, and they're taking calls. Okay. And I would expect our response times to be similar. That's not anything that I would be extremely concerned about.
Okay. Just one other question. Can you explain minimum staffing and forced overtime?
Sure. We develop based on time of day, day of the week, basically where our calls for service are. Mm-hmm. So every day our staffing levels are not the same. To give you a simple example, a Friday or Saturday night is going to be busier than a Monday or a Tuesday night, so we don't need as many people on. Mm-hmm. And then we allow 2 people off per shift, unless somebody calls out sick or they're out injured or something like that. So the minimum staffing, depending on what shift it is, could be 5 on the midnight shift. It could be 7 on the 4 to 12 shift. If it falls below that, where somebody calls out sick or something happens, somebody's on vacation, then we'd hire somebody on overtime. We're going to do everything we can to prevent that on the day shift, at least, by utilizing administrative personnel that are already on duty, rather than hire somebody on overtime for a cost savings. Forced overtime is when the overtime is available and it's been turned down by everybody, and at that point, it goes based on seniority and the number of hours worked. The person with the most seniority with the least number of hours worked would be the first person that is held over and are not allowed to go home, or you could also be called in from your house.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rear microphone.
How you doing? Sean Kelly, Chandler Drive. I have a couple of questions. What is the vote threshold necessary to have a Proposition 2.5 override carry here tonight?
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you repeat that? It's a majority vote. I'm sorry.
Majority vote?
It's a majority vote.
And then this, whatever gets decided here tonight, will be put forward to a town vote? Is that also a majority?
It'll get put on, if this were to pass, it needs to go on a ballot, and there'd be an election to vote on the ballot.
And will that be the last Saturday of July? Can we confirm that date?
It depends on when the select board opts to put it on a ballot, and then, what is it, 35 days? 35 days from that point will be the election.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Front microphone.
Steve Lakatos, 184 Elm Street. In recognizing that employees' salaries and benefits as the largest portion of our town budget, specifically the increasing costs of health insurance and pensions, the same increased costs that have been passed down to many of us by our own employers. Has there been adequate discussions and considerations in reducing health insurance and pension contributions of the town by some amount and asking employees to make a greater contribution?
That would all be part of contractual negotiations. So, I don't know if you've got anything to say on that.
Mr. Moderator.
It would all have to be negotiated contractually. Mr. Moran.
A quick answer on health insurance. We're at 50-50 right now with employers, with employees, which is other communities would have some leeway to reduce the municipal side's contribution, but we don't because we're at 50-50. What is going to positively impact the Mayflower Health Group no longer is going to fund, or their providers are no longer going to fund GLP for non-diabetic uses. Blue Cross Blue Shield has already seen a reduction in their costs and an increase in their profits since taking that step. So you can anticipate in the coming FY28 that there'll be some reduction in health insurance costs.
And how are pensions decided upon?
So the pension assessment comes from the Plymouth County Retirement Group, which we are in. They determine the funding schedule by state law. The pension has to be funded by 2040. It has to be fully funded by 2040. The Plymouth County retirement system has voted, which each municipality has a vote, to try to fund it by, I believe, 2033. There are a number of communities that are requesting that they revisit that, and they also revisit the rate of growth through investment in the fund, so that they could offset some of the costs. That there was an adjustment last year in the schedule, and still the rates went up. So, this is a problem that all the communities in Plymouth County system are facing. There is a growing effort to ask for the schedule to be adjusted.
And again, the only reason I ask is it's the largest part of our budget, and the greatest increase is happening in those areas. So reducing those by small amounts could actually have huge effects. Thank you.
You're correct.
Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So what is the difference between this year's total number and the number if we pass a $7 million override for the actual difference in millions?
Peter, do you have that?
I didn't understand the question.
What's the difference between the base budget? Budget A is 121 million and change, and
Not budget A, the budget cycle we're in right now.
Oh, the current, the FY.
The one that's going to end on June 30th.
Right.
What's the difference between that and millions of dollars and if we pass 3C for 7 million?
The FY26 budget is
Yes.
what you want.
Correct.
So the difference between FY26 and the 3C budget.
I already know the answer, Mr. Gibson, in case you're wondering, but I just wanted everybody here to know the answer. It's about $11 million. So nobody here knows that. So that's 10%.
So we're talking between the C
increase from the budget that ends this. So what they want is 10% outrageous.
As they're looking for the information, why don't you fill us in on where you want to go with this?
Where I want to go with this is that if we have a 10% increase in budget from the budget year we're in right now, and if we pass this and we go up 3.3%, that is unfair to the taxpayers. That's 3 times as much of an increase as we usually get. You can stop the clock, Bob. I'm not done talking for a minute.
Don't run the clock.
So what percentage of the increase is going to be in salary raises?
I don't know that we have that. I mean, that's pretty granular on this.
I do not have that, come on.
I know, but that's pretty granular, and I said with this, when we were talking about the increase, it's fulfilling to, it's maintaining level service budget. That's what the $7 million gets.
So I believe if your number that you used at the joint meeting last week was 85% of the budget was salaries, are you saying?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Well, that's what you used, so it is I don't know the exact percentage, but as I said, it's predominantly salary-based. This budget is predominantly salary-based.
And the increase is predominantly increases in salary.
No, there's no collective bargaining increases in salary. There's only increases in salary related to existing collective bargaining agreements. So yes, there are increases.
Fixed costs did go up $11 million.
With this, through me, we're not going to have an argument going back and forth, please.
Yeah, since most of the expenses are related to salaries, most of the increase is related to salaries as well. I think that's fair to say.
So let me just say this. Everybody deserves a living wage. But when we're paying our town employees 90 percentile for the jobs that they do across the country, right? I have no problem with paying them that, because they do a good job. There's no doubt about it. But for them to ask for 10% raise when we know that the budget only goes up 3.3% this year, that's not fair to the people who work at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's and have jobs that don't get those kind of increases and don't have the benefits.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rear microphone.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Sullivan, please. Or Superintendent Sullivan.
Pardon me?
Can I ask a question of the superintendent?
Mr. Sullivan?
Dr. Sullivan. Or Dr. I'm sorry, Dr. Sullivan. Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you, though.
Dr. Sullivan, my children were in kindergarten and second grade when COVID started, and those 2 years were hell. Can you please describe for us the effects on learning and social development that these kids have gone through, and what impact do you think will happen with these cuts for schools with the budget A and budget B on their education going forward?
Well, thank you for the question. The question really talks about the effects of the COVID time period, and I don't want to give everyone post-traumatic stress on that, but it was very difficult for the schools We had educators totally changing the way they taught. We had kids learning reading from their teacher with masks. It was a very difficult time, and the whole state saw a slide in performance. But what we also noted, and this is really to your question, coming back from COVID, is a need to support our students socially, emotionally. They had lost the time to be together in groups and to grow socially. And we noticed that behaviors were rising from kids who weren't used to being with each other as much. They had more screen dependency. That's what they were doing during that time period. And, you know, we saw a rise in social emotional needs in terms of building students' confidence and sense of self. So we staffed ourselves accordingly. These cuts, which is what you asked, will take a lot of that away. You know, in a previous presentation, I talked about, you know, it's like a series of cuts. You cut a custodian, that hurts some safety. You cut an adjustment counselor, that hurts some safety. You cut a health teacher, that hits some safety. You cut half a nurse, and suddenly you have students who aren't as safe and ready socially, emotionally. So that's really the best answer I have for that question.
Thank you. And I just want to point out that kids from 4th grade to 12th grade, seniors in high school, were part of this COVID generation. And I think to deprive them of any educational opportunities, any sports opportunities at this point, any art opportunities, and I was at a concert tonight at Martinson, any musical opportunities, to deprive these kids of any of those things would be a tragedy for this town. So please support Budget C.
Carrie, please. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Wolf, 375 Union Street. 3 points and 1 question. All of us, I think, share the perspective that Marshfield's a special town, and we want to keep it that way. And I think that probably includes those who are opposed to either Budget C or Budget B. But the reductions that are involved in those two mean big cuts in some of the services that make Marshfield special. And I just get these echoes of something from the Vietnam War, where the U.S. is trying to drive enemy forces out of a village, and an officer tells a newsman, well, we have to destroy the village in order to save it. Well, that's kind of the hole we can get into in terms of rejecting both of the overrides tonight. Second, high costs, increasing taxes are absolutely tough for some people. And I want to suggest to the selectmen that they initiate a committee or a study or a project to address other ways to help people who are on the edge of hardship to have access to paying their taxes and being able to stay in town. Third, everybody should have the opportunity to vote on whether or not we're raising taxes. That means if either override passes tonight, that there is a vote in town. It's necessary. My question, Mr. Kelly has said in the past that he does not favor such a vote. And I would ask you, Mr. Moderator, to ask or invite Mr. Kelly to address the members of town meeting and tell us whether he will or will not vote for a vote on the override.
Okay. You're out of time.
And
you're out of time.
Okay, and if not, to explain his position. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, do you have any inclination to do so or not?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Pardon me?
Repeat the question.
I'd be happy to repeat the question. Will you vote if either B or C is approved by town meeting tonight? Will you vote in the select board meeting to commission a timely town-wide ballot that's needed to either affirm or deny the override?
I will stand by my position as I've always taken.
Pardon me?
Say it again?
I couldn't hear you.
I will stand by my position as I have always taken.
Does that mean if you would
we're
vote
done.
no, then please
Mr. Wolf.
explain why?
Mr. Wolf, we're done. You're out of time. It's all set. Rear microphone.
Mr. Moderator, Mike Devine, 17 Old Plain Street. I have a question and then a comment if possible. Mr. Moderator, you did a great job explaining the rules at the beginning of this meeting. I know once voting gets started, people often leave after votes. Could you please explain to town meeting what, if any, provisions there are for reconsiderations?
I don't understand the question. Could you rephrase it, please?
Sure. Can a vote taken at town meeting be reconsidered same night?
In my decade of being a moderator, I have never allowed a reconsideration.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Moderator. I think it's an important piece of information.
Okay.
Secondly, my comment is I'm hoping that the school department is not facing a myriad of cuts after this meeting. Dr. Sullivan, I know you and your staff believe firmly in this. Adjustment counselors save lives. If there is, our students in school are facing challenges never faced before. COVID, social emotional issues, you name it. I've seen adjustment counselors save lives. If you are in a position to have to make cuts, please reconsider adjustment counselors. We need more. Our students need them to live. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Gibson, is your constituent still waiting baitedly by the microphone?
Yes, please state your name and address.
Laurel Egan Kenny, 51 Old Main Street.
And your question?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just wanted to point out or confirm that the cost for the potential for 3C is $875 per year per household.
Is that for B or for C?
That is for C.
For C, okay. So I'm just wondering which one you were asking about.
Thank you.
And I will get that. Peter, do you have that number of what the cost per household is for C?
Per average, sorry, the average household.
For the average single-family home, valued at $805,000, the added cost of adopting the $7 million override is $620.
So it's not in addition to the 255?
In addition to the 255.
Thank you. Okay, so total was 875, correct?
Total is 620 plus 255. Total is 875, yes.
Okay. And then likewise, 3B would be a total of $609, including that $255 per year.
Correct.
Per household, average household.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, I just think that's worth sort of pointing out to people that it costs $609 for 3B and only an additional $266 for the $875 per year per household to adopt the full 3C option, which breaks down to $73 per month to live in this wonderful town that we live in, or $2.43 a day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Costello.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Sean Costello, Winthrop Drive. I'm also the chair of the school committee. First and foremost, I'd like to say that we have hundreds of outstanding educators in Marshfield, many of whom are residents and are in the room tonight, and they deserve our thanks and our support and not our pink slips. I'd also like to say, Mr. Moderator, that when the house is on fire, you don't wait to see what caused it before you put it out. And this $7 million override option is our fire hose. Our house is on fire right now. I think people need to recognize that because these cuts have been talked about all year, and because the school committee and the school department under Dr. Sullivan's leadership has had to plan for what happens in the schools if this budget does not go through, if this override does not go through, then there are already course offerings that are not being offered. There are already plans being made to make sure that we're ready to start school at the beginning of September. All of these things are already going to happen to impact students, and we need to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that they don't impact students any more than they already have. I also want to make sure I note that Mr. Smith from the Select Board did an outstanding job in his advocacy for 3C, and I'd like to say, just in my own capacity as 1 vote out of 5 on the school committee, I agree with everything he said, and I pledge myself to the same thing, and I pledge to work with you and the rest of the Select Board on that if this 3C is successful. I'd also like to just echo previous comments. Elected officials have an ethical obligation when the people of their community speak, which means
Please stop the applause. We're trying to have a meeting here. It's not a rally.
I will say, Mr. Moderator, that if this vote does not go the way I'm advocating for tonight, I pledge to support the will of the people and do the work with my colleagues and Dr. Sullivan and our team in the school department to make sure that we are fulfilling everything we need to fulfill to educate the students of this town. I hope that if the vote does pass tonight, the Select Board does the same thing, fulfills the will of the people, and puts it to the voters before the ballot. Thank you very much.
Mr. Keene, again, we're trying to get through a meeting here. The applause don't help. Mr. Keene.
Larry Keene, 195 Cornhill Lane. Has been mentioned tonight several times. We all know that we are currently working without a town administrator, and it's been pointed out how important that position is. The select chair at the meeting the other night, one of the finalists, I believe is a chief financial officer of Weymouth, who was one of the final contendants, applicants, if you will, for the position, said when he took over his position in Weymouth 10 years ago, they were facing a Prop 2.5 override very similar to what Marshfield is facing today. They did not approve it. He was able to get everything they wanted in the Prop 2.5 override done without any overrides. That man is in the final position for getting hired as town administrator. Don't let everybody fear you. This has been a great pep rally for the town employees and the boards. Just remember, these board members, the majority of them, is who has brought us to this point. The advisory board has advised for everything right along. The past town administrator gave this town a beating, and we're paying for it today. Thank you.
Rear microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gregory Harrington, 370 Oak Street. And I rise in favor of the $7 million override because this is about protecting the value, safety, and quality of life of the town that we chose to call home. My children are no longer in the Marshfield schools, so this is not about personal benefit. It's about maintaining the community assets that make Marshfield strong. Put our tax situation into perspective. Marshfield is a highly desirable coastal community with strong public safety, excellent schools, local businesses, and of course, our beaches that most towns do not have. Yet, our average property tax bill is still roughly in the middle of the region and below many comparable South Shore communities. The question is not whether anyone enjoys paying more in taxes. None of us does. The question is whether we preserve the services and standards that support property values, protect residents, and make families want to live here. Our schools are a clear example of value, not excess. Marshfield spends less per student than many surrounding districts and less than the state average, yet our schools perform above many neighbors. That is not runaway spending, that is a good return on investment. If this motion fails, we should be honest. We will not be trimming luxuries, we will be cutting services. The schools are trying to maintain current service levels despite inflation, special education costs, health insurance increases, lost temporary COVID funding, and state aid formulas that haven't kept pace. And the same principle applies across town government. Marshfield does not stay desirable by accident. Like a home, if we defer maintenance long enough, the repairs become more painful and expensive. A budget that forces deep cuts may feel like savings tonight, but it risks costing us more in services, stability, and long-term values. And I'll wrap up, Mr. Moderator. I understand the burden on taxpayers, especially residents on fixed incomes. But this override is not about growing government for its own sake.
Your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Little.
Jacqueline Little, 343 Ferry Street. I urge everybody to vote for the C option. As a senior citizen, I recognize that our house value is our largest asset, and paying $800 and some a year is much less what our value in our homes go up if we have a good community. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clifford.
John Clifford, 87 Wrights Way. I move the question.
I will accept that motion. All those in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand. Wow. All those opposed? We're going to a vote. Mr. Gibson, we move the question here. What's the vote in the cafeteria for moving the question?
Was overwhelming in favor of moving the question. And I have depending on the vote that you're about to institute concerning the motion, you might need to give us some extra time because it will be the first vote we've taken in this capacity crowd, and I only have 2 tellers.
So this is going to be a majority vote, so if it's a show of hands, you may be able to do it without standing count.
All right.
Mr. Wolf, you had a point of order?
Yes, sir. Mr. Moderator, request we do a standing vote in order to give the select board a clear picture of the point of view.
I believe it was pretty clear by the show of hands from back here, so we'll try a hand vote first. All those in favor of 3C override, please raise your hand. Mr. Wolf, you could stand up and take a look behind you. All those opposed? I declare that 3C passes. Mr. Gibson, what is your vote in the cafeteria?
I would like to report that the vote with respect to 3C was overwhelming in the affirmative.
Thank you. Now, before everybody runs out of the room, we have a little more business to do. There's a capital budget article, and there are 3 enterprise articles. We'd love to have you stay around. Not that anybody was really going to stay. You can have a little break while people must be going out to the bathroom or getting a drink or something. Okay, everybody. We still do have some work to do. We have Article 4. Article 4 is the Capital Budget Committee. I have an amended motion on this. Again, this could differ from what you've got in the warrant. The Capital Budget Committee moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,729,352 to pay for the capital outlay set forth in the chart below under the Capital Budget Committee recommends column, and to meet said appropriation, that $243,509 is transferred from the unexpected bond proceeds listed in the table below, which projects are complete and no liability remains, and further, that the sum of $1,165,843 be transferred from free cash and $320,000 be transferred from water retained earnings, all as set forth in the column funding sources in the chart below.
Why don't I give that to these guys so they can put it up as amended?
Okay. Yeah, sure, that works. Advisory Board.
Is it on? I can't.
Can
Is
we
it
have
on?
Mike, hello.
Chris Rowland, 45 Whitford Circle.
Mike down the end.
Marshfield Advisory Board. Annually, the Capital Budget Committee receives requests for capital projects or items from each town department costing more than $25,000.
Can you turn that up?
There it is. All right. Now I'm on. Chris Rowland, 45 Whitford Circle, Marshfield Advisory Board. Annually, the Capital Budget Committee receives requests for capital projects or items from each town department costing more than $25,000. Once these requests are received, the Capital Budget Committee meets with the department heads to determine each request's priority and makes a recommendation to the town meeting on which project the fund based on impact and need, as well as available funding resources. The Advisory Board appreciates the important work that the Capital Budget Committee does, and we unanimously recommend the capital expenditures that will be presented.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Griffin, Chair of the Capital Budget Committee, do you have any statement? Okay. I'm going to read the individual line items. If you've got a question, we can deal with the questions, and other than that, we're just going to go through the lines. Number one, the police department replaced 3 cruisers. The request was for $201,000, and the approval was for 1 cruiser for $67,000 from free cash. 2, the fire department replaced paramedic unit number 4. Request was for $531,000, approval for $531,000 from free cash. DPW Ocean Bluff riprap repairs, $1.7 million was requested, 0 is recommended, it was not funded. Department of Public Works water main upgrade, $120,000, 0 was funded from water retained earnings. Department of Public Works replaced carbon filters, $200,000 was corrected, 0 was recommended, water retained earnings. School Committee, Daniel Webster School roof, restoration, $1.847, $1,847,024 was requested, $145,000 was approved for immediate needs on limited areas via free cash. 7, School Department, Sped 8 passenger van, 2 units, $284,904. Approved $142,452 for 1 unit from free cash. Harbor Master, USACE Green Harbor Project, $450,000 was requested, $450,000 approved, unexpected bond proceeds and free cash. 9, Animal Control, Animal Vehicle Replacement, requested $73,900, approved $73,900 for free cash. So that's the list of the items that were voted upon. Questions on the article?
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street, Board of Public Works. I think you just misspoke, so I just want to be clear with people. On the Department of Public Works water main upgrade and replace carbon filters, 0 was recommended by capital budget because they're covered with water retained earnings. So the funding source is water retained earnings for those.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, my mistake was in the text up above. So they were approved from 320 from retained earnings.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Next.
Tom Miller, 89 Ames Way, School Department, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance. Just one clarification on number 7, the passenger vans. The recommendation was $142,452 for 1 unit. That's actually 2 units. Our initial proposal was 4 units.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
So I just wanted to clarify.
Yep, my mistake.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this will be a majority vote. All those in favor of Art, pardon?
How you doing?
Oh,
Sorry.
yep.
I just wanted a clarification.
You need name and address.
Brian McIsaac, 133 Tower Ave. I just had a question for fire department. I just wanted to ask how many current ambulances do we have in town?
Chief?
Good evening, Michael LaSalvo, Fire Chief, 958 Forest Street. Currently, we have 5 ambulances in town. We run 3 frontline, and we keep 2 in reserve.
Is that at each fire station in town or just the main one?
All of our frontline ambulance, all 3 of them run out of our headquarters station at 60 South River Street, and the 2 reserve units are housed at our Brant Rock Fire Station.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. This is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 4, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 4 passes with a majority. Article 5. The next 3 articles are all enterprise account articles. Again, as I said earlier tonight, this is a little different format from what we've used in the past. Normally, the enterprise articles were contained within the operating budget. Now they've been broken into separate line items, which I think down the road will be a better way to do it. And Mr. Gibson has joined us again, so I guess all of his guests in the cafeteria ran away. So, welcome. Article 5. The Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $4,010,758.50 from Water Enterprise Fund revenue for the purposes and in the amount specified in the chart set forth in Article 5 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant to fund the operations and expenses for fiscal year 2027, beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending on June 30th, 2027. Board of Public Works, we have a presentation. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As you stated, about 10 years ago, we actually had these as separate articles. But since then, over the last 10 years, they've actually been part of the overall budget for the town. But this outlines what we have for the water department. So user fees are the fees that basically the users charge. User fees from the school and the town is the water that is used by those schools and the school departments, the different school buildings, and all of the town buildings. Commercial fees are all the businesses that use water in town. Connection fees are new connections that we have for water. And then salaries, expenses are just salaries and expenses that we have. Emergency reserve is $100,000 that we put aside just in case something happens that isn't otherwise budgeted. We've got the debt service that gives us the direct costs, and then the indirect is what services the town is providing to the Water Enterprise Fund.
Thank you. Might as well hang out there. Okay, we're going to go to the advisory board.
Paul DeCristofaro, 9 George Street. I echo everything, just my notes are almost exactly the same as Ken's, other than I just wanted to point out on all 3 enterprises, the indirect costs, that $735,000, if you recall, was part of the general budget in that article. So you'll see indirect costs from water, sewer, and solid waste that was in the budget we voted on, which is the town's a portion of the town that supports and manages the enterprise operations, such as human resources, payroll, accounting, and so forth. And it's depicted in Appendix C in the back of your book, how that is calculated. And we were favorable and unanimous on this.
Okay. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor of Article 5, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that Article 5 passes with a majority. We are on to Article 6. Article 6, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $3,794,079 from wastewater enterprise fund revenue for the purposes and the amount specified in the chart is set forth in Article 6 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant to fund the operations and expenses for the FY 2027, beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending on June 30th, 2027. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. Ken Ryan, DPW Superintendent. Very similar to the water, the wastewater has user fees that are paid by the users, the fees that the town and school facilities use, and then we have septage receipts, which are the septage pumper trucks that come and drop off at our wastewater treatment plant. Then we have our connection fees for new connections, offset by salaries, expenses, again, an emergency reserve fund just in case something happens that is not budgeted, gives us our total. We've got our debt service in there, and then the indirect costs as we were discussing.
Okay, thank you. Advisory Board?
Don McAleer, Advisory Board. The Advisory Board recommends approval of this article. I'm going to take a little different approach and simply say that I think the DPW should be complimented for their foresight to plan a facility that should the entire town need to go on sewage, that could handle it. We urge you to please support this article.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the floor.
I'm sorry, Steve Lakatos, 184 Elm Street. What is the debt service covering? That's money that was borrowed for a capital outlay or something, or what specifically?
Mr. Ryan?
Sorry, yes, the debt service is for capital projects that have been borrowed.
Okay. So it's about $1 million almost that.
Yes, the largest
yearly.
The largest addition was the Plymouth Ave pump station. That was the last project that was completed.
Okay. And do you expect any other capital outlay necessary in, let's say, in the next 5 years, a significant? I know with all the PFAS stuff that's going on, there, some towns have had to change their filtration or add significant to their filtration. Do we expect to do that?
Mr. Ryan?
Yes, we might be confusing the issue here. So this is wastewater. The first one we talked about was water. So the PFAS issues that communities are facing are in drinking water.
Oh, okay.
And the capital request that we had in there for $200,000 for carbon, that is a PFAS filter that we have.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Priscilla Maglio, 163 Arlington Street. Whoever just said that you're taking care of the whole town for wastewater, that's inaccurate. My section of town doesn't have any sewerage. Also, I don't think there's any sewerage service to the fairgrounds. I'd like to ask that person, could you explain how the fairgrounds gets rid of their sewage in light of the fact that we have the Marshfield Fair and we have Levitate going on with some kind of toilets that look like outhouse systems? How do you clean up that? And when are you going to provide Kent Park with sewerage? Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Okay.
So it sounded like there was a two-part question. The one part is doing sewer for the rest of the town. That's something that we're continuously looking at. We're doing studies to try and figure out what parts of town would next be sewered. We're looking at it really from a protection of drinking water standard. That's kind of our first priority. And then our second priority would just be environmental impacts. So those, we're looking all over town to figure that out. We've hired a consultant who's we've done studies over the years. We're trying to put all those studies together to have one concise plan. So that is something that we are currently working on. As far as the fairgrounds, I am not sure. They have a private septic system because, as you stated, they are not part of our wastewater system. They're not connected into our sewer.
I've been informed by a previous Ron Procaccino, someone who's retired, that the fairgrounds is not connected to the town system and they do not have their own septic system. So I'd like to know how often you pump that area.
I believe Mr. Ryan's answer was he's not familiar with the fairgrounds septic issues. Okay.
Who is?
Don't know. Not me
Well,
either.
if they're not connected up into our wastewater facility and into our sewer, then that would fall under the Board of Health.
They don't know either.
Okay. Front microphone.
Carol Gage, 74 Leland Road. I'm asking because of expansion. We are seeing a lot about a 150 condo or apartment building down in the sewer district called Brant Rock. Can your system handle what's going to be being put in without an expansion?
So that project is under review.
But can it handle the project?
That project is currently under review.
Okay, so if you had 100 or 150, yes or no, could you handle it?
I believe he answered you with it's under review.
All right, so you don't know if you're going to be able to handle it. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, I'll call for a vote on Article 6. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that it passes with a majority, and we are on to Article 7. The Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $6,431,500.51 from Solid Waste Enterprise Fund revenue and $243,643.49 from Solid Waste retained earnings for the purposes and in the amount specified in the chart set forth in Article 7 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant to fund the operations and expenses for the fiscal year 2027 beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending on June 30th, 2027. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ken Ryan, DPW Superintendent. This is the Solid Waste Enterprise article. So for the Solid Waste Enterprise, we get user fees, which again is the fees that anybody who has trash collection in town pays. We get the user fees again from the town and school facilities. We have resident passes, which are the transfer station stickers. We have pay-as-you-throw bag revenue. Weigh and pay is commercial waste that comes into our transfer station. We have white goods, which are refrigerators, stoves, appliances, any Freon-containing devices. We also put into that, we get revenue from TVs, mattresses, tires. We have scrap metal revenue. We have leaf bags and clothing sales. In this article, when we looked at our salaries expenses, because solid waste prices are going through the roof, they're very hard to control. So in this instance, we are taking some money out of retained earnings. We have over $2 million in retained earnings. We're taking $243,000 out so that we won't have to increase the user fees too much next year. Our expenses are salaries, expenses, which is really the majority of our expenses is the solid waste disposal that we have. We have, again, an emergency reserve fund, and there is no debt service right now in the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund. The indirect costs are, again, the costs the indirect costs are the fees that we pay for the services that the town provides to the Solid Waste Fund, and that's what we have.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the, advisory board.
Paul DeCristofaro, 9 George Street. Again, pretty much same thing, everything echoed. The indirect cost of $350 is what we voted on earlier in the main budget. One point I wanted to clarify, is the retained earnings $2 million for across the three or just for our?
Say that again?
Is the $2 million that you mentioned retained earnings?
Yes.
Is that
retained.
It's just solid waste?
Just for solid waste.
Okay. All right, I had it as across. Thank you. And one of the reasons of taking the retained earnings of 243, you're running about 200, close to 200 under for the year, so it'd only be pulling about another 43.
Yes,
and
currently
there's not a lot of capital going on.
Yes, currently we are running under budget for fiscal year 26, so any excess money we had in our budget would roll back into enterprise funds.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the floor, rear microphone.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So the combined cost for indirect costs is like what, 1.6? Did I add that up right?
Yes.
So I just don't understand how that possibly can be. I mean, that's just an outrageous number. For what is the indirect cost? What does it consist of? The secretary sending out the water bill? What else?
Mr. Ryan?
There is a schedule in the back of the warrant. It's Appendix C, and that outlines the indirect costs.
Yeah, I can read it. I can read it in the back of the book. Tell me why it's so much money.
Well, what we've done is we've come up with an actual procedure to calculate what that is. So we looked at how much of the budget the sewer, water, and solid waste enterprise funds are, and then we looked at those departments that are impacted by or have an effect, help out in effect, the enterprise funds, and we looked at the percentages. So if you look at this table, we had 2% on sewer, 3% on water, and 1.5% on solid waste. And then we go through the budget and we say, for instance, the moderator, the money that goes to the moderator's budget, the select board salaries, select board expenses, we look at what their total budget is, and then we charge 2%, 1%, 1.5%.
Well, that doesn't seem fair to me. That's not direct cost for the the people who are using that. That's just a fixed cost that's going to be there anyway, with or without you. What does the Board of Commissioners of the Department of Public Works think about that 1.6 million? Are they in agreement with it?
No, they're currently not in agreement with it, but we've come a long way coming up with a process, and we're going to work forward to get to an agreement.
And they think it should only be $1 million that you're taking out of that fund, right?
When you take the indirect costs and you do the offset calculation, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you're
the discussion goes through me.
So we're overcharging the fee pay is $600,000, correct?
No.
That's what
Mr. Ryan?
The board believes, right?
No, because the indirect costs are offset by the offset charges. You were just comparing the $1 million, which is indirect minus offset, to the indirect costs. So you didn't put the offsets in there.
What is the maximum you're allowed to keep in retained earnings?
Mr. Ryan?
I don't know that there is a maximum.
Okay.
So you can just keep billing the fee payers and building up retained earnings to anything you want?
Mr. Lynch, get to your point. We're
point
just going
is-
around in circles here, so please, get to your point.
So the point is, we need to control what we're charging the taxpayers of Marshfield for these services. And when you start charging them double, it's a problem. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go for a vote. All those in favor of Article 7, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 7 passes with a majority. We have now concluded the world's longest spring town meeting. Thank you all. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you all for coming.